when you take everything away from yourself, you really learn how to love yourself. And it took a good year of a lot of different therapy and just constantly asking myself, what would make me, like, my soul happy? What would make my inner child happy? And that constant questioning back and forth between myself, and then realizing that just existing is enough.
Hello, Brave Table fam. Welcome to another episode of The Brave Table. I'm your host, Dr. Neeta, and this is your destination, your oasis to be all things just a little bit more brave. And I am curious to ask you, how many of you have gone through a period of burnout? So many women, like my guest today, they're meditating, they're doing everything right. They've climbed all the ladders that they thought were to be successful. They've gotten all the things that they wanted. However, they are struggling. They're regulating their nervous system, they're eating clean, they're journaling, they're waking up early, they're working out, they're doing all of the things, yet they still feel exhausted, foggy, inflamed, wired, and tired. Not because they're weak, not because they're not trying hard enough, but because the terrain that they're living in is overloaded. Now, my guest today is a serial entrepreneur. She's built multiple businesses. She has scaled them. She has sold them. She is in helping others and people all over the world, athletes, high achievers, build and scale their wealth. And now she's teaching people how to do that. And in this episode today, we are not only unlocking our personal health journeys, but also we are unlocking what it means to live a life fulfilled on your terms and going into the rabbit hole that is your health to uncover some of the things that perhaps we have been avoiding. And in today's episode, you are going to learn a little bit about a procedure called INUSpheresis, where my dear friend Ayda Shabanz and I just recently did together. And you know what it means like to go into wellness and biohacking, and what biohacking actually means for women, and why for women over 35 we should be thinking about actually cleaning ourselves from the inside out. And I'm not talking about another spiritual retreat. I'm not talking about plant medicine today. I'm not even talking about going and traveling around the world, which, you know, Brave Table fam, I love. I'm actually talking about taking charge of your own health and cleaning the systems that actually can cause a buildup of heavy metals, toxins, overload. That's not just the mental overload that we carry as mothers, but also as high achieving, ambitious women when nothing else is working. My guest today has lived through all of that and more, and I'm super excited to have her here. So let's welcome Ayda Shabanz on the Brave Table this week.
Oh my God, thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm actually super excited that we did what we did yesterday and we get to talk about it today.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, I first, before we get into that, I really want to set the ground stage because you are a powerful queen. And I feel like just learning and hearing about your story, I was just so in awe because not very many people that I know emancipated their family as a teenager. And so I kind of want to start there.
Okay, let's go. What do you want to know?
Yeah.
What part? I mean, so I was born in Iran, and when we left, when the country changed to, I guess, what it is now under the regime. So yeah, my childhood was very difficult. I mean, leaving a country with your family, I was very young, but my parents were young, didn't speak any English, and you're just trying to find hope, I guess, somewhere else. So I actually lived in Bangkok in Thailand. And then from Thailand, we moved to Australia, and I lived in Sydney, Brisbane, and then Melbourne, and all sorts of areas since then. But my dad, unfortunately, was a heavy alcoholic, extremely abusive. The household was not good at all. So I spent most of my childhood in safe houses. So that's where you go until, you know, it's safe, and then you go back home. So even when my father and mother split, my dad was an alcoholic all the way up until my 30s.
Wow.
And my mum met another partner, and that became his older son was living with us, and that became abusive. So it was like abuse in the household, and the home was never safe. So I think for me, I call it like divine guidance, or parts of your life where some people could resonate would say that God steps in somehow and gives you this strength that you didn't know existed. But there was a pretty specific moment where things got really bad, and I needed my mum to step up, and she just was silent. So in that specific moment, I decided that I have to leave, and it was like, this is the godlike moment where it was leave, survive or die. So I don't even know, like I look at myself as an adult to my younger self and think, how did I have the strength to do that? So to fast forward.
And how old were you at that
Yeah,
point?
so I left when I was 14.
Wow.
But I wasn't able to, I'd have to go to social, be like adopted into another family. And I didn't want to go from this household to another. I was just traumatized from homes. I just wanted to be on my own.
Especially after being in safe houses for so long growing up.
Yes.
And, you know, you moved from Bangkok to another new country.
Yeah.
Also not knowing, you know, the culture. And then at 14 years old, like prime in your teen years, you're saying, I've had enough of this. I'm just going out on my own.
I think I was going to commit suicide, or I would have become a drug addict, or I really just wanted to take my own life. It was like when you're a child and you just, nothing, I can't explain it, only other people that would go through it. It's just like either you somehow have this resilience and strength to keep fighting, or you just can't. So at that point, I went to like a place where it's like social care, whatever, you know, it's a government institute that provides support. And there was a beautiful lady that helped me at that age and was like, so these are the options. This is what you need to do. Then at 16, you can become your own legal guardian. But in the meantime, like try, you know, whatever you can you know, so I stayed with friends. I slept in friends, like you name it, I did it to like move through. And then I got a job at Hungry Jack's at 14, saved every $7 that I had. So then I could move out on my own, like into a shared bedroom place.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, went to school still. I still went to uni, did all that. Like I literally,
You still went to university and you still did well in school.
Yeah. But it was difficult because in my culture, that never happens. So my mum was like, I'm not talking, like if this happens, you're like, if I sign off on you being the legal guardian after so many sessions with counselors and that, like you're not my daughter basically.
Oh wow, so you had like a no contact with your family.
Yeah, I've had multiple no contact with both my family members over my whole life because of like standing up for what's right.
So you grow into having this masculine shell because then you have to take care of yourself.
Yes.
And what's so fascinating with your story is then at 19 you start your first company.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into that.
So I think I was always a born leader because even at Hungry Jack's and then I worked at Subway stores and all that, I was always becoming a team leader or a manager, even at a young age. So I was always leading teams. I never thought I would have my own business, but I always knew I would be a leader, right? And when I was at uni, I did business management, and then I studied marketing, like a major in marketing. And business management, for everyone that probably knows and's been to uni, and it's not relevant to the real world unless you're going to work for a multinational corporate. So I just really loved marketing, and then I loved property. So I was looking to move into property marketing and project marketing, it's called. And I went and applied for roles there, and I applied and I found like finance as a thing. So I went for these two really specific careers that are all relevant to property. And one required how many interviews, tests and this and that, you know, for a cadetship of like 20K. Wow, big deal. Then the other one was like comm only, basically working for a funding company, like a private funding company, and you're teaching and learning cash flow systems and wholesale funding, but it's comm only. And coming from nothing and survival, that's really attractive because you can make whatever you want. They're like, the sky's the limit. You can make whatever you want if you work hard. This cadetship was, well, final interview, you've got the job. Well, what's the max? And back then it was like 100. And I was like, so you just put a limit on what I can earn.
Wow. So even at that age, coming from nothing, having lived through all of these different safe houses, having emancipated from your parents, living on your own, working at kind of, you know, at the local fast food chain, And then you're kind of getting these opportunities. So it already seemed like you had this innate ability to say, okay, I'm not going to take what the world's going to give me.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, like this random resilience. So in my past life or something, but I think resilience is built into the Middle Eastern women and a lot of ethnic cultures because we've had to go through a lot generationally. So that resilience, I think, resides in a lot of women that come from these type of countries where there's been like generational, like oppression. Yeah. But for me, I think I didn't have anyone. Like I just didn't have anyone that was going to come and save me. Like, so I had to work. I did multiple jobs. Like I was working, like doing night shifts till midnight, going home and doing a assignment and then waking up. And I was always doing extracurricular activities. So I'd get up and do dance aerobics and play sports and, all of these things. But I never had a chip on my shoulder though. Like weirdly, I didn't.
Interesting.
Never.
I did.
Did you?
Oh yeah, I did. I think I read about it in my in That Suck Now What. It's one of the chapters. It's called "Do You Want Guac with That Chip on Your Shoulder?"
I remember I read it. I read that
because I did. It's as if I had something to prove, and I feel like when we met, I'm like, oh, I totally get you.
Yeah.
Like I see you.
Yeah, I know. It was like instant
I feel
connection.
seen. I'm like, yes, working 3 jobs as a teenager, but still going to dance class.
Yes, everything.
but still being the president of whatever club it was.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's the thing that you do.
Yeah.
And I think that, which is why I was so excited to obviously find you here too.
Yeah.
Is also that, a lot of times we think, and I think Brave Table Fam, for all of you watching and listening to this, I think is so important. We think that, our own pain or the things that we've gone through are so just unique to our own journey. But in fact, a lot of us can resonate with other people's stories and trajectories.
Yes.
And the idea is the fact that you just didn't collapse. Yeah. And that's kind of like, oh yeah, girl, I get you too. Like I get you and I can see where you're at. And even because you had so much through all of this, you could have lost your faith, but it seems like there was some sort of faith. You've always been pulled to personal growth.
Yes.
And you have your own podcast as well.
Yeah.
And so tell us that journey.
Okay, there's a few questions in that. So I'll just finish what I was saying before about and then I'll jump to that. So there wasn't a chip on my shoulder, but it was like I was operating from a fear state, right? Because I think it's not like I was like this awesome positive bubble going around. I was this intense, crazy energy and people loved being around me, but I was always feeling unsafe. Okay, so from the feeling of unsafe is the opposite of that you try really hard to do is to keep yourself safe. So my journey, as I continue to tell you, is more about finding safety in making sure that I always was having money and I didn't have to be in that situation again where I was completely not safe. So I linked safety at that age to having a roof on my own head, right? So to have a roof over your own head, you need money to pay your own rent at that age, and going on and on and on. So people can then link this story through my journey is that my underlying core system has always been running from unsafety. And then when we come back to talk about this treatment that I have, you're going to understand why what I'm going to tell you then. But that's a really important thing is I was operating from unsafety and fear, and that created the drive for me to be the drive for independence, because people have different reasons. Like yours was, I have to be the best. Yeah. I'm assuming with that, the way that you were saying you were doing, so I think from your book and things that I read.
Right. And it was a strive for excellence, but it was also a strive for, acceptance, because I lost my parents so early.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So it's the same. We have these different things, and then we relate that to safety. So then moving on and moving forward to that journey of the podcast or everything else, my whole life, I've had so many things happen. That's a small part. The father that's an alcoholic. I've had sexual abuse, which I think the timing of us doing this podcast, it's very unique. I've had those things happen. I've had other relationships that were very traumatic, and people would think I'm so strong, but often the strongest people are the ones that have been in these worst positions.
Right.
And through that, the only thing that kept me going was I can't be going through all of this to not be helping other people, right? That have had that, because to really help someone, you have to have felt that. For people to really hear you, like that's why you have such an incredible podcast following, and you're just such, so many amazing friends and opportunities, because you have been through it. You're not someone preaching from something they read.
Right.
It's such a different.
It's like a lived experience.
Lived experience.
And I feel like, when you're meeting people, Brave Table Femme, when you're connecting with people, there is this certain pull. Like I feel like there was this certain pull, even just in meeting you and really understanding and learning, like, okay, wow, she's also accomplished a lot, but she's also been through a lot. And there is a dark side to, kind of climbing up the ladder of success and all of these things, which we'll get to.
Yes.
And which is why we decided to do this treatment. But I think for, you mentioned this with high achieving women, founders, creatives, leaders, and obviously I've interviewed, hundreds of them now at this point, 400 interviews. But it seems like the thread that connects a lot of them, especially the women, is just this innate hunger, this hunger to be better than the version they were before. And no matter what the challenge is, you will always find a way.
Yeah.
How do you relate to that?
I have always found a way through any challenge. Because I think nothing in business has ever been as bad as anything I've been through personally. Yeah. So I think, it's money is the result of the energy output, but it's not the whole thing. So there's like an unattachment to that. The real drive, the real momentum and the real drive actually comes from, I think for me originally it was coming from the fear, right?
Of course.
So I never really had the attachment to the money and the success or the dollars, because in business it's up and down. You could have 150 grand and then $50. Most real business entrepreneurs and founders know that it's like this. It's never ending. But the way that I think I relate to this part of it is, I think my journey and going back to what you said, it was this underlying thing to have to prove something, but mine was really to myself. Yeah. Really, it was, I need to prove that I'm okay, and I'm going to be okay, right?
That I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. And that was the real push. But I think if we talk about with other people that maybe haven't gone through all of those things, there's this society that we live in that's made women now, I think it's amazing that we can all go to work and all these but now we've gone a little bit the other way, and it's become we're expected, when now our bodies are expected to perform at the same rate as men, right?
We've been hyper masculinized.
Yeah.
And there is a cost to that.
Yes.
And I know that, yes, on paper, even in this interview, wow, people are going to come and watch because it's oh my gosh, she scaled multiple businesses. You've sold 2 companies, and you're living that dream. And you also were able to live in different countries, Spain, Bali, now here in Dubai. And, you're as many people would say, a self-made woman. Yeah. But at the cost of.
Yes.
And that's what I think I want to bring to this next, chapter of, it brings to my first, obviously, question is, high achieving women still feel that pressure to be relentless, even when they're successful, until they get some sort of a health scare or this feeling of burnout or mental fog, they get really sick. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So linking back from the last thing, so I didn't understand all of this, right? But we're just operating from this way that we're supposed to, working when we've got our menstrual cycle, operating, if you're a business woman and it's your company and you're sole operator, that's even more pressure and more stress. So it's all of this stress, but men don't have the hormones and the things that we have to deal with, but we've just been operating at this level. So you think I was doing this from like 14, okay? Yeah. I'm in business trying to make money to pay my bills from 14. So 14 to my first one that I sold was 37.
Wow.
Right. And the last one was last year, but I had these businesses for 22 years. Okay. Then previously working. So I'm in this world of hustle, like make money, survive. Okay. So my nervous system is going like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there was not one time, like I would never turn up, like hardly ever be sick. I could have be in hospital in emergency and be at work. I could have massive things at home. I'm at work. Like I had, a stepbrother that was like a brother to me. He took his own life at 14. I was at work the next day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
like my nervous system in every part of my way was like this, right? So the cost of that over this massive period of time, I had autoimmune disease come through, right, which was rheumatoid arthritis.
Oh my goodness.
And how that started was from a shoulder injury. Then it just never went. I had to have multiple steroid injections, inflammation. Then that led to stomach problems, SIBO issues. I couldn't eat at all without, like, I was like basically 8 months pregnant, eating a piece of lettuce, pain, extreme pain. From that, it led to just multiple. So for me, it was like inflammation was the biggest thing, but it was connected to autoimmune. Like every time I went to the doctors, it was autoimmune. So then I got put on for every type of autoimmune thing that popped in. So it went from rheumatoid arthritis to, I've always had issue with my asthma and bronchitis and all sinus, related.
Right.
That turned into a lung issue. From that, it was like, oh, well, we don't know. It's just, so it was just, but it's all inflammatory, right? And that, see, I never really understood burnout. I just thought burnout was chronic fatigue.
Right.
I always thought, oh, I'm burnt out means, and I was heavily burnt out after COVID. And because I was so much work I had to do. And then selling my last company coming out, right? Because I was dealing with my own personal healing journey, which was coming through at the same time as exiting. So I went through 3 to 5 years of letting go, right? In that letting go, I became sick. So it all comes up.
It all comes up because it was probably suppressed for at least 2 decades for you.
Yeah.
And not, kind of going through, or if you're in survival mode. And I feel like, I know that even in my childhood, I was in survival mode, and you're in survival mode until you can no longer, and you have some sort of safety, but now you're like, okay, I feel safe because monetarily I feel safe. So I can let go. So then that part starts to kind of come up. And then for you, it's like, okay, it's just coming up fully.
Every part. So every time I started to do, I would get sick and then nothing would work, like steroid after steroid, because inflammation in your shoulder, the pain, you can't sleep. Anyone knows about major pain. So like at some point you're like, I just need sleep. So then they give you steroid for your immune system. So everything I eventually led to steroid. Even like here, I had so much problems with my eyes and sinuses that one day I couldn't even see because my eye was so puffy. Steroid IV drip. So it's like steroid. So that all my body is just, it's just all inflammation. But going to the burnout part, I honestly I had major chronic fatigue and things because my body was finally, so I'm dealing with the healing of like traumas from childhood. And as I'm dealing with so I'm getting sick and then I'm going, the medicine's not working. So then I've got like a very good team of like EMDR therapists and, shamans and spirit, like I do a mix of everything. So I'm like,
you're at the right place.
Yeah. What can I take? What can I do I go deep into whatever I need to do to heal. So as I'm doing that, I'm getting more sick and then I'm healing something and that's going away.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting more sick, that's healing. But then I truly didn't understand that that burnout is also inflammation in the body.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, people say, oh yeah, there's effects of stress, there's effects of burnout, but really, what does that mean?
Right.
What does that
It's
really
like you have
mean?
the oxidative stress in your body. You
Yeah.
know, you might not be breathing right, but what does it mean at the core cellular level?
Yeah.
Well, it just means that our cells are holding a lot more toxins. And, you know, to be able to connect that, I don't think no one really connects it in that way.
Yeah.
But I really want to also speak to kind of all of the layers, because I feel like for so many of us high achieving women, and many of you are mamas too now, you're in that era and it will take you out. And I feel like that's what we were kind of chatting about. It was like, okay, there was so much even for me last year in just kind of, you know, shifting our family abroad and, you know, all of these different things, all of these new opportunities that we needed to shed. Like we needed to fully shed.
Yeah. So going through everything that I went through, building, scaling the companies, never thinking I would ever sell. And people were like, I mean, silly to sell, you're making all this residual income, why would you? But as you go deeper and deeper into the healing and removing all of the stuff from you, it's a journey to coming back to you, right? And in that process of coming back to you, you have to remove things.
Subtract.
Yeah, right? So in the removal of letting go, I just woke up one day and was like, I'm ready to sell the finance company. I'm just ready. And that was my identity.
So, and no like discussion with anybody else about it.
So I had a business partner from when I was 19, and we had the companies together. There were some companies I had on my own, but the finance company was together. The last one I had was together, and there's some other ones that we still have and I have on my own. He wasn't really involved, but because we started together, I still said to him in the end, like, and he was like, I never thought you would do this. It's your baby. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really, like, I don't really identify with that anymore. I don't really need to have that. And I need to let go of this so I can do more of this. So it was that. But then I think it was really when I sold the two biggest companies and had time off that I realized, like, I went into deep depression. Wow. I ended my relationship of 3.5 years. I had let go of two of the businesses that was completely core to my identity as an adult. I moved countries, and I decided to live in a country that didn't speak English as a first, like, at all, really. It was like very foreign. So I took everything away from myself to really, really figure out, wow, where I was holding on to. And that last year was a very difficult year for me, where everyone thought it would be the best year of my life because I just exited. I'm living my best life. I'm flying first class. I'm in this place people were just like, you're living the dream, but behind the scenes.
And nobody talks about this part because people only glorify she's had an exit, you know, she's had, you know, this much exit and oh, she's living the dream. She's on her yacht. She's on her plane, all of the things. But what is the real cost of that?
So I was really lonely. Because there's not many people, especially women, that had got to that at my age. And there's actually not a lot of men, because I started Googling and trying to look for like answers and books and where can I find information on how to cope with that year of exiting or like coming into early retirement. Like, how do you deal with that? There was only like 1 or 2 things that I could read, but nothing. So I just had to look into it myself. I had to figure out ways, spent a lot of money on therapy, but it was really because I didn't know who I was without my business. I didn't know what I was without that purpose.
I mean, that was your full identity. And I feel like in Ayurveda and even in the Vedic system, we talk about Dharma a lot. And Dharma is kind of what fuels you. Dharma gets you through some of your hardest days. And for you, your Dharma for 22 years was business building, finance, you know, scaling, marketing, different projects. And here you are, you're like, okay, now that's taken away. Who am I without all of this? And so now your Dharma is being questioned. And then when you have all of that time, all the other surface stuff that you have been avoiding for so many years, 2 decades, are now starting to kind of flutter to the surface. Yeah,
I mean, I knew what the problems were, but there was I felt of value. So for me, like it gave me like, it made me go, well, what am I if I'm not of value? Like, why am I doing anything if nobody cares? Okay. And this is
Well,
like,
it's questioning your own worth.
I went into that.
At the deep level.
Deep
Yeah.
self-worth, which I would have thought I had good self-worth in the sense of confidence and all that. But I was like, I don't exist. It doesn't matter. Like literally my existence was tied to being of value and service.
And who are you if you are not adding value? Who are you if you're not contributing? And I think offline, we were just talking about, I think it was after a yoga session, we were talking about what values drive your life. And is it based on, you know, like the values that you really inherently believe, like your belief systems? Or is it the running forces that maybe we've inherently learned because of the things that we were trying to run from?
Correct. So yeah, like that I don't matter without my business or people. I've really, again, another thing which we hear a lot thrown around outside of burnout is self-love. Like, what is self-love and how do you actually love yourself, right? When you take everything away from yourself, you really learn how to love yourself. And it took a good year of a lot of different therapy and just constantly asking myself, what would make me, like, my soul happy? What would make my inner child happy? And that constant questioning back and forth between myself and then realizing that just existing is enough.
Well, just being, because for so many years, and I want to pull back the masculine, feminine, you were hyper masculine from a very super young age. And then all of a sudden you sold all of the things that were the doing, the hustle, the full masculine, and you let that kind of go on the wayside. And now you have to kind of like wrestle and grapple with this like inner child of Ayda, who's this inner little girl who was in her purest light, pure feminine. And now she's like, okay, who am I? What am I? What do I love? What do I like? What do I like to do?
Yeah.
And that's something that I feel like so many of us high achieving women, we don't have time for.
Yeah.
Because we're constantly trying to do all of the things. We're trying to, you know, tick all of the boxes of success and tick all the boxes because we can, and we've been kind of groomed and primed to do, and we're good at it until we've hit at that breaking point.
That's right. Like being strong, right? Because we're going back to when I exited, I realized that being strong is lonely. So all of that is being strong. I can do this. And I don't have
need
kids,
anyone.
Correct. But my sister does, and we talk all the time, and I hear her stress and, you know, like, well, I've just got to do it. And I'm like, you can ask for help. Like, just ask. And she's just kind of like, oh, actually, okay. You know, it's like that reminder, but it's like, it's almost not okay as a woman to say, hey, I need help. Like, I need help. I need people, you know, and like that strong being alone really came out because I literally built a life that I didn't need anyone's help.
Yeah.
And then when I was finished with that, I was alone. I was lonely. I was like, wow, I built such a big, what do you call it? Like thing around myself to be like, I'm so safe, but hey, now it's just me in here. Right. Yeah. So going back to that self-love, and that is the vulnerability, is being like, it's okay to need other people. Yeah. It's okay to ask for support. It's okay to not be okay. And like that loving of myself was really like teaching myself like existing is enough. And I can't truly be honest and say, oh, I fully love myself now. It's still a journey that I'm going on to constantly reprogram a belief system that I ran for my entire life.
Well, what do you say about, you know, the women who are constantly trying to prove their worth through the contribution and the value that they create in the world? And how do you define wealth now?
Yeah. So I think, I mean, a really important thing as any woman to do is to understand what, like we spoke about, what is the true core driver here? You know, and like even just taking a piece of paper and drawing a line and asking yourself like, okay, what's important to me in achieving these goals, and why what would happen if I didn't? You know, because then, and then coming to the core of what's driving that and seeing, am I doing this from that if I don't achieve it, then I'm not of value and it takes away something, or is it
like
giving
it's my
me
ego?
correct ego or like true heart, you know, and that's like constantly like re-asking the same question till you get to the core of that answer, right? And then realizing that, you know, like that loving you and everything you do, whether you achieve or you don't achieve, you're still amazing.
Yeah.
Whether you do or you don't, it's going to be okay. And then the what is wealth now for me is actually about health, because, you know, I lost my health in so many ways, mentally and physically. So it's like health, number one, you know, all of these actually probably equal health, peace.
Yeah. Oh, peace.
Peace. When I talk about peace, I talk about peace as in feeling safe, secure, okay, happy, and no drama, but in your own mind as well, and externally. So
your own mind can be filled with your own drama, which is your own inner critic, the way you talk to yourself.
Yes, and I think when you have been in sexual abuse and you've gone through it at any age and you dealt with it, you know what not having peace feels like. So for me, peace is extremely important. And then I would say relationships. The community of friendships and the love relationship, that is so important. And like everything comes down to that at the end of the day, right? And then obviously having the freedom, where that comes from, financially or personally, to be able to do what it is that you love doing. So for me, it's also about being of purpose for other people, like helping other people it's those things. And before it was like all, you know, it was definitely like success driven and a constant achieving. And now it's being a bit more about being.
Well, I feel like it's you entering your feminine era.
Yes.
And that's why we've got our rose ritual chai, which we're going to sip in a little bit, because that rose is really, the shatavari in it is the best way to really ground ourselves, to open up to the feminine parts of ourselves, to be able to, you know, just exist, and that is enough.
Yeah.
And I love that you said that, to exist and that is enough, because for so long we have been taught that we are not enough if we're not doing things for other people, if we're not being of value to other people. And all of these things are great, right? Even in our culture, we're taught seva. Seva is the act of selflessness that we do for others, which is so beautiful. But at the same time, we have to also pour our own cups first in order to then flow to other people. And, you know, and it brings me to kind of our next chapter, because for, I think, a lot of mamas, working queens who are just on the go, right? They don't really pay attention to their health, you know, because they're so quickly like we're at the bottom, or it's like, okay, everything else is so important. And like you said, you know, you had all of these things happen and you would show up the next day.
Yeah.
Like, and I relate with that so much. It's like, I relate with that so much. I had lost my brother, you know, as a teenager, and it was a sudden death. And I remember just going back to school that Monday and thinking, okay, I think everything's going to be okay. And it's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. You know, I was like applying for colleges, and I feel like, yeah, your brain is so primed to keep going. But I think this is also, even if you haven't been to extreme trauma like Ayda and I think this is also akin to motherhood, and just going and just keep going and trying to do the best for your family without taking a break for yourself. Or even if you are high achieving queen who's like, all right, I want to get all my goals, but you're ignoring some of the ailments that you have. You might have stomach pains. You might still be like, all right, I'm going to crush this, or I'm going to go do the thing. And when, you know, just when I'm looking into it, a lot of our toxic load comes from years of cumulative stuff. So here, like years of sleep deprivation, chronic stress. Okay, hormones, hello, cortisol. Yeah. Cortisol's that big ring around that belly that causes that belly fat. Yes, we can talk about pregnancy and postpartum, all of the mineral depletion, because, when you're giving birth, you're kind of giving it to your baby and you're giving everything to your baby, and maybe you're not taking care of yourself, but environmental exposure that we are just constantly bombarded by. So mold, and you guys, I've talked about mold many, 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 many times in homes or schools. And of course, just in the places that we are in, heavy metals, not just in the way that we're dyeing our hair, but also in our food, in all of these like canned goods and packaged foods. Like heavy metals are such a big thing. Microplastics, which are in I just read that like the research is out that you consume about a credit card's worth of microplastics like weekly or something like that. And don't quote me on this, but it is a lot. It is jarring when I read that. And then of course, all of the hormone disruptors, right? And obviously, Brave Table fam, you've heard me talked about this before, where in our chai tonics, it's one of the reasons why it took me so long to formulate, because we did not want any fragrances. We don't want any quote unquote natural flavorings because of all of the hidden, toxic endocrine disruptors that really can cause early menopause. It can cause the brain fog. It can cause all of these things that, especially if you have young daughters, which I know, I have, I feel like your sister has as well. You don't want your daughters to go into puberty early. And not only that, the other toxic load that we don't think of as toxic is when we're carrying emotional labor and everyone else's nervous system. This is the number one point that I think we fail to recognize. We're carrying the emotional labor and everyone else's nervous system outside of our own. And this is years of inflammation and toxicity. And no wonder you had all of these issues in your shoulder, in your body, in your gut, in your eyes. That I think that
and lungs
and your lungs. And I mean, from Ayurveda and from Chinese medicine, lungs is a sign of grief. So much grief that you're pushing down for 2 decades that finally it came back up. And so, I feel like you just don't bounce back from that. Your bloodstream then becomes this storage unit for holding all of these toxins. And so when I had first heard of the therapy called INUSpheresis, it's this where they clean your blood plasma. It's like getting an oil change. I've heard about it, because in the States it's called EBOO, and it's not the same thing, basically. And I want to just kind of go into, the definition of what this is, because Ayda and I, we just got this done yesterday. Total of 5 hours, but it was kind of like getting an oil change for your body. This was at the Dr. Ozone Clinic here in Dubai. It's one of the only places in the world that does it. They actually have one in Vegas in the US. But it's a German-Swiss technology that was developed. And INUSpheresis, so it's spelled INUS, pheresis, because it's a selective blood filtration therapy that removes inflammatory proteins, toxins, immune complexes, microplastics, heavy metals, and oxidized lipids like the bad fat from your plasma. So basically it's kind of like getting an IV drip. So you have one thing that's hooked up to one arm, and then the other arm goes through this like centrifuge where it separates the plasma from your blood. Then that, separated plasma goes into a filtration unit. It's literally kind of like getting an oil change, and it filters all of the crap from your blood, and you see it. You literally see it. And then that blood is literally then pumped back into your body.
The good stuff.
And the bad stuff. The bad stuff is like held into a little like baggie that you can see.
We get excited every time. We're like, yay, it's doing more.
And so, and it's interesting because, it's not stripping out everything that your body needs. And, I think that at Dr. Ozone Clinic, it was, one of they are so advanced in all the technology, and people from all over the world come here. So we were really, grateful that we were able to get this done together. But this is not the detox in that Instagram sense, right? This is not a juice cleanse. It's not fasting. It's not like a sardine diet eating cleanse.
No water fasting.
This is not a water fast. It's more like mechanical and biochemical filtration. So it's closer to how, athletes and Olympians, how they treat chronic inflammation and autoimmune overload.
So it's like a body reset. So the way I would think about it is like we start off like all healthy and all, coming out of the womb. And then over the stress and obviously environmental, we absorb all of those things into the blood.
And not to mention all of the emotional and the traumas.
Like you were saying.
Yeah.
So then now with this, it's like basically taking your body back to zero, like to the baseline core of health. So remove all of that, the toxins, the neuroplasticities and inflammation and mold toxins and all of those things. It's like a way to start your body as a baseline. So for one of the things that I would add is it's not like you're injecting something. It's not like giving you more life. It's just taking you back to your optimum original baseline health.
Yeah.
So you have a chance to like then build from that again.
Well, and I think why I was so drawn to it, because, I wanted to spill the tea with you, spill our chai together as we're drinking it, is because, I think between us and Brave Table Fam, you know me, I'm such a guinea pig and I do all of the tests. I've done all of the tests. I've got, my poop map, like a gut map done. I've had, you guys know I've been on such a health journey since removing my breast implants last year. And kind of going through that in the process, I wanted to really, and obviously all of my rashes and all of my symptoms are gone from that, but I really wanted to start from a baseline. Yeah. And a baseline where I'm like, okay, I feel really good. I feel really energetic. And the thing about this is that, you can do all of the things, like all of the supplements. We do all of the supplements. Yeah. I know you have a really big supplement stack. I have a really big supplement stack. I've been taking peptides. I've been doing all these things, but it's like, you're stacking and you're putting all of these, you're doing all of these things on top of your bloodstream, but then your blood and the blood that's surrounding all of your cells and your mitochondria is not, it's still swimming in all of that toxic soup and toxic load. Yeah. And that's kind of how I understood it. Yes. Where that's why I'm like, okay, I know this thing, like they have to put these needles in me. And I don't know, I do like getting my IV drip once in a while. Before I was really all about it. But this was completely different. Yeah. Because then you're sitting there with two arms holding it up like this. It's kind of like, I've never had dialysis before. I know some family members who've had dialysis. It was kind of like that. But actually, it's literally cleaning out your entire blood. Yeah. And honestly, I mean, today, how do you feel?
I feel at peace. I really feel at peace. And the reason I kept talking about and I said, I want to wait till we get on here to tell you how I'm feeling, because I couldn't put my finger on it yesterday. So we both finished and we were both really quite calm, chill.
Well, before we get into that. Okay. Well, so yeah, we get, we're calm and we're tired and we're doozy, but we look at our bags. Oh yeah. We look at our bags, the content, the crap, the shit that's in our bags.
First of all, when it beeps, it goes beep, beep, beep when it's going to flush. So you're like, we're both like, what? Who's going first? And then I was like, mine's coming first. And
so we were in the same room. They were, Dr. Ozone and the whole team and staff, Dr. Aisha and Dr. Sam, they are incredible. The nurses there are so incredible. If you decide you want to take a trip to Dubai, we'll link everything in the show notes. Because there's a lot of people in the clinic. There are people there from LA. There are people there from Europe. I mean, people are just flying in, to get this treatment done. It's a very specific, and the way that they take you through everything is just golden. We'll talk about all the nuts and bolts, but as soon as you see all of that yucky stuff come into your bag, what happened? I
was really excited because I was like, I'm happy. I mean, I'm not happy, but I'm happy it was a lot of crap coming out, because it showed me from a physical, image that it's doing something. If I sat there and it was just clear, then I would kind of feel like, is this really, does
this really work?
So when I came out, it was like, oh my God, yours is really reddy brown, yellowy. And
all the nurses were like,
oh my God. Yeah. And then I was like,
you've been through
what's hers like? What's hers like? And we were like, everyone's we're just constantly comparing.
Right, because yours was darker. It was this dark reddish orange. Yeah. And what I loved about the nurses was they're like, well, we see a lot of people who have cancer and different kinds of cancers, or they have rheumatoid arthritis,
autoimmune
diseases where they're filtering the blood And basically, this gets rid of, the spike proteins from the vaccines. If anybody's taken, the COVID vaccines, this clears all of that. The microplastics. I mean, she even pointed it out, which was really disgusting. The heavy metals and
lots of inflammation.
And just the inflammation. Like my bag was all inflammation.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to see my thyroid markers now that I've gotten this, because I had really high antibodies, which is a sign of inflammation. It's no wonder my bag was full of inflammation. It was like this yellow, it was like a lightish yellowish, light orangey color.
Yeah.
Yours was definitely dark because you had all of the years of the antibiotics.
A lot of antibiotics and steroids.
Steroids. That's right.
And I was exposed to really bad mold in Bali, and also in like Indonesia or any third world country, they burn the rubbish.
Yeah.
So there's plastic toxins in your air always. So like mold toxicity and toxicity was something I was really keen on. I didn't really know that I had, I knew I was inflamed, but the inflammation just none of this really linked for me until just recently reading more and understanding more about it. But all of those things leads to inflammation.
Right.
So it's like the mold toxicity and the spike protein from the vaccine that I had, all of those things leads to inflammation, right? So,
and inflammation leads to those chronic autoimmune diseases, which is why I was just thinking, and I know for a lot of us, we have elderly parents, and there were a lot of people in there that, had the arthritis, had rheumatoid arthritis coming in to get this done. Now, I kind of want to go into just a little bit before we kind of go, for anybody who's curious about, INUSpheresis versus EBOO, because I think that, especially in the States, EBOO is definitely talked about a lot more. I didn't really hear about INUSpheresis. It was a very new word for me, but I've definitely heard of EBOO because obviously in Austin, there is Alive and Well who does EBOO there. But INUSpheresis targets toxins, inflammation, and immune overload. So it's actually at the plasma level. There's physical removal of this. I already talked to you about kind of, how that's separated, but it's best for chronic inflammation, autoimmune issues, mold, heavy metal exposure, high toxic burden. And then of course, it's to reset your terrain. It's to reset your blood levels, right? So EBOO, which stands for extracorporeal blood oxygenation and ozonation. So a lot of biohackers talk about EBOO. Why? Because it targets pathogens. So any viruses that you get. Mitochondrial dysfunction. This literally cleans out the mitochondria as well, and circulation. And this is the whole blood. So this cleans out the whole blood. INUSpheresis cleans out the blood plasma. So all of the stuff where the toxic load is just sitting and swimming in. So it's nice to do a combination of both, but with the mechanism that EBOO does it with, it's ozone and oxygenation. Yeah. So you run it through ozone, and I know during my mold situation, I was doing the insufflation and the rectum with ozone. And so ozone does kind of, clear all of that bacteria. It's best for viruses, viral load, chronic infections, energy and mitochondrial support, and athletic recovery. So if you're constantly doing a lot, this is why EBOO is great. But if you want to start from a really great baseline, then INUSpheresis is also
So I heard about EBOO first, and then I started going down that rabbit hole, and then we found this. But I will do this treatment twice because of my based on what had come out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And we can talk about how I'm feeling now, but I'm definitely, so they say, to get the best outcome, especially if you've had autoimmune and, underlying issues, to do it twice. And then I will move to EBOO because it's now I've got the good baseline. Now I can feel the oxygen and get the body pumping the blood and moving. And so for me, it's remove the bad, get the body functioning in the good way. Mm-hmm. And then the IV drips and things like that you add, it's an added all the peptides,
all
right?
the benefits.
Yeah. So it's the different layers.
Well, and I'm even thinking about all of the supplements that we're told to consume, and, all of the blood work that we see, what we're missing and what we're deficient in. But I'm kind of well, that all of that stuff doesn't absorb if the blood plasma that you're, everything is swimming in
body.
Is toxic.
Yeah.
And you've had so much inflammation, and it's no wonder, it's things are scoring crazily on your bloods, when you're taking your blood work. to get, whatever it is, because obviously if your blood is not clean, then that's what's going to happen. So I'm curious now to see, even just like as my own kind of researcher for myself, but how are you feeling today?
For me, like when we finished, right? Like the whole time we had a bit of a different experience. For me, I had from the IV, they put the vitamins. We didn't talk about that. They actually put the vitamins through your drip so that you're getting everything you need. But I had that metallic taste from the vitamin C, like higher vitamin C dosage that I'm normally not used to. But I was quite like spacey the whole time. You were energized.
I was very energized. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, you were like on your laptop with like one hand.
I'm like, I'm trying to type.
Singing. You were like singing, and I was like, and they just kept hitting my arm, pump, pump, and I'm like, oh. And they're like, Ayda, pump.
I'm rocking to like Olivia Dean's playlist.
You're like, Ayda, have you heard this song? I'm like, yes, it's on my morning playlist. Anyway, so that was during, and then after we finished, I was just really chill and like ready to go to bed. You were more relaxed at that time as soon as they removed it. Yeah. But for me, then I went home and I was like, oh, I'll just go to bed. But I didn't go to bed, which I should have. So next treatment I do, I'm going to do it later in the afternoon,
so you can just
I can just go to sleep.
Yeah,
I didn't, and then I went through this uplift of energy. So after like around about 7 or 8, I was like clear, energized. So
really,
yeah. So I probably felt more like you did during the treatment.
So I think so we had a reverse effect, I think.
Yeah.
So when I got home last night, obviously we had people over, and then of course you're peopling with people over for dinner.
Peopling with people.
Yes. And then, but I went to bed early. I did. I went to bed at like 9:30.
Yeah.
And like I spent some time with the kids, but went to bed super early. And then in the middle of the night, I wake up. I had to go to the bathroom. Like,
many times.
Yeah. So I guess your body's just like flushing out.
Like, yeah, I was really flushing
because they do give you, even though, so the whole process is you're hooked to, one IV in one arm. And then basically you have an IV that's kind of dripped with, to keep you hydrated because they're taking out your blood. So you're basically kind of getting fluids and vitamins and things so that you're, going to be okay. And they're actually monitoring you. So it's nothing scary. You have like pillows and blankets,
hot water bottles,
and hot water bottles to make sure your veins are kind of like nice and plump. And not only that, the doctor is checking in on you like every 20 minutes. It's amazing. You're kind of like at a med spa basically. And then they're massaging your feet, which I'm like, what is going on? Then they give you like this smoothie afterwards, probably because they've
nourishment,
reshifted your entire blood plasma. And then they're giving you food. Like, so we had like a really nice salad as well. It was like an avocado salad.
Orange juice.
So they gave you enough to kind of get you going. So you're not going to like, pass out or fall out afterwards. Cause it's a long time. Like the whole process, think about it like this, you're kind of filtering your blood. Like it's going through a Brita filter, like the top filter. And then, but it's going out of your body and into your body. And so it's restructuring different things. So you're going to feel a little lightheaded at that day. I don't know if I should have had people over, to be honest.
No, I know. And you're like, do you want to come say hi?
Yeah, I'm like, come on in, because that's just how I usually am. But then in the middle of the night, I woke up and I had to pee a few times, and I'm wide awake.
I was
at 2 a.m.
I was constantly going to the toilet and like getting rid of all of the extra like water fluid. I did feel, so the other thing was I felt quite like we were both quite, well, I was holding a lot of water retention.
Oh, same. We were both like,
my face was blown up. My stomach literally had a bit of a baby. And then, just flushed all that. And that was all of the body water fluid was gone. I just had I have a lot of fluid build up in my face today. But when I woke up today, I felt, when I say peace, I now have figured out why. Because I'm finally safe in my nervous system.
Ooh, yeah, that's big.
I couldn't work out what the feeling was. I feel safe because all of a sudden my body's not on high alert. It's just gone, holy wow, this is what normal state feels like. Because I've been in this heightened state of, one, even if you're sick, your body's like, oh my God, I need to survive, which I was for a while. But I now, for so long, and I don't even know when I actually have felt this.
Wow.
Seriously, like crazy. So like that just shows you how much women, well, for me as a woman, I was not feeling that safety. And I know it wasn't safe, but I did all the work. I did all of the ceremonies. I did all of the things mentally. And I was like, why do I still not feel safe? And it was like actually a biological thing.
Yeah. And sometimes it's an emotional thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a combination of both.
But both. But when you've done so much healing on the emotional,
you've done all of that.
Why am I still not feeling safe? What's going? And then it's like because my physical body thinks I'm in a fight state.
Because you've been holding on to all of those toxins
inflammation and toxins
physically in your body.
Yes.
And yeah, which is why we were like, okay, we have to talk about this because I don't think this part is talked about a lot. And I don't even know if it's, like it's not available in a lot of places. So if you are curious about this, you definitely want to look at, I think there's only 12 countries in the world that actually have this type of INUSpheresis. I think EBOO, if it's not in your country or state, EBOO is another good option because at least you're cleaning the blood and it's getting, something is getting filtered from the blood level, but from the plasma level,
super important to make sure you go to the right places because the doctor was telling us there's alternatives to the type of mechanism and the technology that some people are providing that removes everything. So it not only removes the bad, but it actually removes the good.
Yeah.
So that's where people have had negative effects because you're pumping the same. Like you're getting rid of stuff.
Right. They take it all out. They take the good parts out and the bad parts out.
Yeah.
And then they put
You're just left.
Yeah. And then they put it back in later.
Yeah. But so that was the difference where people have had, because we were asking questions about, are we going to infection and like how people feel. And then he was explaining that there is mechanisms and technology that doesn't have the ability to differentiate between good and bad.
Yeah, because the technology and the big machine that you're actually hooked up to that it goes into, that is a Swiss German technology. And they were very specific about that. So, definitely look into that because, I mean, that's wild that you're just feeling at peace.
How are you feeling?
I mean, I feel very clear.
Yeah, definitely clear as well.
And I think I was even saying it too yesterday. I'm like, oh my gosh, have I just been like walking around with cloudy glasses on? Because when they put the IVs in my system, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I can see clearer. And I feel like my head is clear. So that was just yesterday during the drip. And then this morning when I woke up, I'm like, okay, not only do I feel lighter, but I feel like, and just there is no brain fog. And I feel like sometimes I do have that. And I don't know if it's like a perimenopause thing.
Yeah, I had a lot of brain fog with the sinus and all of the, like the blood-brain barrier, which, is a huge thing. My brain fog was like, I couldn't even sometimes remember what I was saying.
Yeah.
So I definitely have more clarity as well. But it's like the peace focus. I don't know if you have mentioned that you have done like other types of ceremonies and healing and journeys things. Yeah. So that feeling you had when you came out and you were clear is the same feeling that I have. It's like this after you've had this massive purge, right?
Right. It's like a massive purge.
It's literally like that.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. Thanks for bringing that up because you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I feel like, and it's this just, it's like we're present, we're here, we're now. So I don't know, shout out to the team at Dr. Ozem Clinic here in Dubai. I feel like and this is obviously not an ad, but this is just, it's humbling to kind of be able to experience our own kind of, geek out because it's not very often where I meet somebody else who's as geeked out about health and personal growth work and spirituality all at the same time. And she says yes, because I was literally telling her, I was like, we went to a yoga
Pilates,
a Pilates thing yesterday wearing, the same outfit, of course, because as you do. And then we decide that we're going to go have lunch. And I said, I'm like, hey, I know I've been talking to you about INUSpheresis. I'm actually going today.
Do you want to come
come and check it out? And then we get over there and they were so kind. And they were like, well, if you guys want to do it together, you know, we can probably rearrange stuff where you guys can be in the same room. And honestly, not that everybody needs a friend to go with, but I was so thankful that Ayda was with me and vice versa, just because, you know, when you're doing something like that, I don't know, I feel like it's always better to
you want to have someone
heal
like,
in community.
Yeah, I feel that too. And you like, it is quite a big process that you're putting your body through. So it's nice to just have someone, and then after, even if you don't have someone during, to have someone that you know that's familiar to be there after would be nice.
And I love that we were debriefing, but I want to preface this by saying to anybody who is listening or watching this isn't about biohacking harder, right? Okay, it's not about I have to find the latest and greatest. It's about really tuning in with yourself, your intuition, to see, you know, why are women expected to self-regulate in bodies that are completely overloaded, and sometimes with toxins, sometimes with all of the emotional stress that we carry? And is there a place where we can kind of just release all of it and cleanse it physically, literally, instead of blaming themselves for trying something and then it doesn't really work? And, you know, this is not a magic bullet. This is not for everybody. It really isn't. I feel like you need to talk to the right people and see if this is for you. But it is for women who have kind of done the inner work and maybe they feel stuck. Maybe they're feeling kind of all of the symptoms that we've been feeling because you've been carrying things for far too long, right? INUSpheresis was something that we were like, all right, yes to doing this. And I think, you know, at the cost of what? Like we've been putting, we for many years, decades, even for you, putting ambition at the forefront, but then seeing your health suffer in the way. And when I saw your bag, you know, with all of the toxins coming out and just kind of all the trajectory that you've been going through, I'm like, oh, wow.
It was a physical, like, image of what I say. You know, like sometimes you kind of like talk yourself around it as well as a successful woman.
Everyone in the room was like gravitating towards your bag because it was like, whoa, what has she been holding for so many years?
Because I look healthy.
Well, you look healthy. You're taking all the supplements. You're doing all the things. You're working out, and I think a lot of times we need that physical, you know, to kind of, and it's also, it's not just physical, but it's the energetic. You said yes to it. You said yes to kind of going down this journey.
For me, it was like part of the process of coming back to my true self. So it's been a letting go. Who am I without my business? Who am I really? Same for you, your journey of coming back to you. I guess when you look at this as like from a health point of view, for me, it was like, wow, I'm coming back to baseline. I finally get a reset. Like all of this stuff is really for me. Like the choices I'm making is for me.
Yeah.
Everything is about choosing me now.
Oof. Ooh, how does that feel?
Amazing.
And I mean, you know, in to your point in what you're sharing, you know, sometimes healing isn't about going deeper.
Yeah.
It's about clearing what should have been there in the first place.
Yes.
And being able to look in the mirror and say, okay, it's time to let you go.
Yeah.
And in this case, it was physically. So thanks to Dr. Ozone Clinic here in Dubai for supporting us with that in this INUSpheresis treatment. We'll link everything in the show notes as well. But we have our Spill the Chai round, and obviously we have a Rose Ritual Chai, which obviously when you try it, you're going to go home with some of that today. It's like a lot of my Persian friends say it's like a Persian dessert.
Yeah. Like, well, when we were finished the treatment, you had all of the things.
Oh, I did. I had.
And I was like,
I had chai tonics in my bag.
What's that? What's this? And you're like,
I'm like,
do you want some?
I'm not giving it to you.
Do you want some?
So yes,
so
you're gonna go home with
you know, make sure you have like your care pack. You should have a care pack.
You should have a care pack. Yes, a chai tonics care pack. So now that you are in your feminine era, okay, first thing that comes to mind, what are you committing to yourself daily?
Like, so going back to like asking myself the questions all the time. So like if there's an event on, is this something that I want to do, or is this my old version of me thinking that I need to turn up or be significant or something? So it's like, do I feel like this is going to be like going to add happiness or joy, or, you know, from this place I make decisions. And I get a lot of opportunities, and I find myself like going into like what feels familiar, like that energy of like, like success. And then I'm just constantly asking myself the question, is this leading me to the life that I now want to live?
Right.
Yeah. So that's probably the constant one. I mean, I am always doing the yoga in the morning and and all of these things. It's not about the things. It's what do I want?
So I'm hearing the questions to ask you to get super clear.
Yeah. And I'm keeping in the right direction and not going back into the familiar.
So good.
You know, choosing that path of choosing me, choosing like existing is okay, choosing wholeness and self.
What does brave mean to you now?
Choosing me.
And what's one word that describes this season?
One word. Wholeness.
Ayda Shabanz. Wow, queen. We've been on multiple timelines, multiple journeys, and I'm so excited on what you're going to create next.
Thank you.
And thank you for giving us the permission to be able to pause, but also exist without having to do. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this conversation.
100%. And I hope that like my story or my journey and everything that I've gone through just shows to anyone listening that we're all coming from something, right? We're all coming. It doesn't have to be, like you said, extreme trauma or extreme. We've all got our things, but really recognizing how are we operating from and what is driving us forward, and that it's actually okay to ask for help. It's okay to need support. It's okay to just be. And we actually have to remind ourselves that we're women.
Yeah.
Okay. Even like,
we're women.
Yeah, just remember, we don't have to do things the same way as men. It's like I have started operating from my like hormonal like cycles and being like, oh my God, it's period, and I don't have to work.
I don't have to push.
Yeah, and because I'm choosing me. And
so good.
So I think hopefully the journey and the story, the ups and downs and the links, and then coming back, but choosing you, listening to you, and knowing that we don't have to operate the same. We have an immense power as women that men will never have.
So true.
Men will never have. So I would love more women to step into that and realize that power that we have, that we can create. Men cannot create.
That's so true. They can create in different ways, but not life.
Not life.
Not life.
So remembering that we
and
are
that's the magic
co-creators.
And that's the magic of the feminine. Where can everybody listen to your podcast as well? Because you have a phenomenal podcast. And where can they follow you on Instagram?
So Instagram is just my name, Ayda, Ayda Shabanz. Everything is linked in that. You can Google my new business is IAM, which is AYAM.
Ah, so good.
And it's all about like empowering people to step through their identity to create freedom and choice. And I do that through educating and leading through more of the property, finance, wellness, financial independence.
And you teach a lot of, people and women how to build their own wealth, which I really love that. And I know that that's such a big passion and mission of yours.
Yes.
So definitely we'll link that also in the show notes. Ayda, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. And I'm so excited for this next few days to see where we're at.
I know, evolution. Wow. Okay. Take a deep breath. You're here. You're on the other side. I'm linking Ayda Shabanz in the show notes, everything that is with her new I Am mission. And you can go ahead and check out Dr. Ozone Clinic here in Dubai, the process of INUSpheresis. I know we talked about so many different themes today. And the one thing that I want you to go home with is what are you creating out of? And can you exist without having to prove? Can you exist without having to do? Can you exist in the feminine and the blossoming of where you are at today? Because that feminine energy already is powerful. That feminine energy is already who you attract in your life just by being you. And that's why we created Chitonics, to allow yourself permission to pause, allow yourself permission to be and take a moment to yourself to pour into your own cup without and before having to pour into others. And you can check out Chitonics for 15% off by using the code BRAVETABLE, BRAVE table, for 15% off at chitonics.com. If you are on YouTube and you're watching this and you're following this, but you haven't hit subscribe, please hit subscribe. Please let us know what you loved the most, what changed your life, what you're sharing with other people. It really lets us know that you want more of this in your life and more incredible guests to bring on. Until next time, I will see you soon. You know I've got so much more in store for you. So if you are really ready to dive in and keep owning your emotions like the boss that you are, click right here. Go ahead, don't be shy. I'll see you in the next one. Keep shining.